Back in 75, things were different. No cell phones, no tech. It was gritty, and then suddenly all hell broke loose. That press conference at Forest Hills changed everything. I just looked them in the eye and said, I want to be number one. Looking back, I had zero clue. You don't realize you're walking straight into a mousetrap until the door snaps shut. She's got that pitbull energy. Reminds me a lot of how Tibolkova used to just tear into her opponents. Last week, the talk of the town was Alex Eala, and those massive loud crowds she was pulling in Dubai. It really stood out because that is not the kind of tournament that usually sees that level of total insanity. A stage built for legends suddenly shifted into something totally wild that caught every person on the schedule off guard. The 2026 Stuttgart Open became a total circus. And it wasn't about the seeds. It was about one name rewriting the script. Even a legend like Martina Navratilova was left wondering what the heck was actually happening inside those packed stands. How does a last-minute replacement end up casting a shadow over actual Grand Slam champions? What is driving fans to treat these early morning rounds like it is the championship match on Sunday? Alexandra Eala, the teen from the Philippines. She didn't even need to step out today because she's already owning the court. Eala, yeah. Wow. Why's that? Look, I won't over-explain it. How does she beat Iga? Honestly, watching her play has just been an absolute blast. I love how she turns power back on her opponents, but Iga just has too much horsepower and seasoned experience for her right now. Oh, you're backing down now. Yeah, well, I need the mic. I say wild stuff just to keep the conversation hot. Total hot take. The Porsche Arena was never supposed to feel like a sold-out pop concert. By April 2026, Stuttgart felt less like a quiet tennis stop and more like a stadium waiting for a star everyone already knew by heart, even if she was just a replacement. People came for her. But let's talk shop in terms of actual tennis. What exactly makes her so dangerous on the court? Well, she does a ton of things right, and most of them make her opponents feel completely out of their element. For starters, you can't ignore the fact that she is a lefty. There is just something about facing a southpaw that drags you out of your comfort zone in weird ways. Her forehand is solid, sure, but that backhand, that is her real weapon. It is aggressive and catches people off guard. She mixes sharp baseline strikes with heavy spin that forces opponents to back off. Outside, the gates were already mobbed. By dawn, the air was buzzing. The lines weren't polite. They were huge waves of people stretching down the street before practice even began. Security kept doing double takes on the lines, hoping they would magically shrink. But they just kept getting bigger and louder. My mom is Filipino and she is obsessed. She is like, oh, I have to go see Alex Eala play. She is losing it over Alex. She told me I am definitely coming to watch her when she plays this Thursday. I had to remind her, Mom, I am playing Thursday too. She goes, oh, right, you. Yes, I will watch you too, I guess. I am just standing there like, seriously, Mom? What are you even doing right now? Didn't you say she wanted to cook her a Filipino dish? Yeah, my mom went to the US Open last year. Alex was a huge deal then, and my mom was just dying to see her. She even hoped for a quick picture. In the middle of all that growing chaos was a name that was not even supposed to be at the top of the bracket. Alex Eala did not show up in Stuttgart as a favorite or a seeded star. She was just a late entry replacement tossed into the mix after someone else dropped out. But the crowd's reaction made it feel like the tournament had secretly booked a global superstar without telling a soul. Alexandra this week is just unreal. You just crushed the world number 5 for your biggest win yet. How are you feeling? I am just so happy. Honestly, I am thinking about my parents watching back home. Mom, Dad, I love you guys. Crowd roaring. I can't call them yet because I am stuck in this interview, but I will hit them up right after. So yeah. Looking at the tennis itself, what do you think was the key to your performance out there today? I do not even know, honestly. I just put my head down and kept running. I knew she was going to come out swinging. That twist was wild enough, but then things got crazy. Tickets started disappearing at a pace usually reserved for the championship finals. People weren't just buying seats, they were brawling for them online. Every time you hit refresh, the options just vanished. Sold out was not just a label anymore. It felt like fate. The irony is wild. Stuttgart is a prestige clay court stop that has seen legends. It was like the fans decided to toss the official bracket out the window and write their own script for the week. The Stuttgart Open, or the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, has always been about elite competition. This year looked the same on paper. The roster was stacked: heavy hitters, Grand Slam icons, and past title holders. Everyone came in expecting to own the front page. Anyone you actually click with during these high-stakes moments. Oh, I'm a huge fan of Jenny Brady. Hilarious. Yeah. Whenever I'm in a slump, she's my go-to because she'll crack a joke and we'll just lose it. So yeah, Jenny. And Eala too, she brings the laughs when things get wild. Honestly, you need that sense of humor. We're dealing with a lot out there. Sometimes you just have to laugh it off and let the chips fall where they may. But look, expectation and reality, they rarely move in sync in today's game, especially when this new wave of crowd energy hits. And this time it wasn't about the points. It started quiet, almost easy to miss music. Then practice sessions started pulling massive crowds. It's that brutal road where you have to survive just to be seen. Suddenly a top-tier player drops out. Everything changes. She gets thrown straight into the spotlight. Usually a last-minute swap like that barely makes the news scroll. But in Stuttgart, it was a match to dry brush. Almost instantly, she wasn't just a sub, she was the main event. No marketing machine built this. It was the fans, the ones who'd been watching her rise long before she stepped onto this court. Her run-up to Stuttgart was a mix of big wins and those cold reminders that progress isn't a straight line. And that's the Anacon Open felt like a real toss-up. We'll boo him off in a second because there's no turning back. Seriously, she should be arrested. I think she's got a real shot. Iga might have too much power, but this feels like a massive new chapter. We're going to see some incredible tennis. It's going to be a wild ride. I was kidding. I actually think she might come up a bit short tomorrow. Oh, see what I did there? 1 second, it's the title next. I'm holding the mic so I control the vibe. As soon as I said that, you guys were all over me. But there were also those moments that went the other way. Matches where big leads just evaporated. Even the pros were scratching their heads. It's that brutal learning curve testing exactly how much she can handle when the pressure is red hot. But in Stuttgart, the drama didn't matter. The crowd made it about heart, not stats. That's where things get interesting. Even the legends were trying to make sense of the atmosphere. When Martina Navratilova saw the way the fans were rallying behind Eala, it wasn't just typical commentary. It was pure shock. Like a spotlight that refused to stay on the big names it was supposed to follow. Here's the irony. The suits try to predict the crowd using rankings, but the reality in Stuttgart was being driven by something totally unpredictable. A mix of culture, digital hype, and pure representation. You're the first woman from the Philippines to beat cheering. A Grand Slam champ. First Filipina to beat a top 10 player in 35 years. What does that mean for your home? Oh, you'd have to ask them. I don't know. Growing up, it was tough because there was no blueprint, nobody from home doing it. But man, the Filipino fans, they turned that arena into a second home. They showed up in force. Early rounds felt like the finals, and they weren't just sitting there. It was loud, coordinated, pure emotional investment that turned every point into a shared moment, not just a game. It got so intense that organizers had to pivot on the fly. Walkways were overflowing with fans who couldn't even get in. Matches felt way bigger than they looked on paper. Voices like Navratilova saw it early. The sport had a mismatch. Demand was blowing right past the logistics. Yet even with the heads up, Stuttgart was playing catch-up the whole time. On the court, the tension was through the roof. Eala didn't have an easy path. She was in the lion's den. We're talking Grand Slam winners and clay court specialists everywhere. High stakes. Every round felt like it could boil over. One potential early matchup was electric. A top seed before the quarters. Usually that breaks a newcomer. Here it just felt like destiny. Then there's the part that makes this really wild. Other players with Filipino roots on the same side of the bracket. Identity, loyalty, and grit all colliding in the first week. That's where Leylah Fernandez comes in. It wasn't just her rank. Even a first-round match felt heavy, like something much bigger was at stake. But look at Stuttgart. Things change fast. 1 minute it's routine, the next total chaos. Tournaments usually run on total order, tight schedules, routine ticket sales, and a very clear pecking order for the stars. But Stuttgart 2026, it felt like those old rules were being shredded right in front of us. Just being there felt different. People outside weren't guessing who'd win the trophy anymore. They were just praying they'd get through the gates. The line to get in became the lead story. Suddenly just showing up became its own high-stakes game. So Alex, Eala, you guys just teamed up at Indian Wells. Tell me what's it like out there with that massive crowd. And hey, they're screaming for you now too. It's wild. I actually mentioned that to her. I was like, dude, this is awesome. I've never had this much love during a match in my entire life. I know they're mostly there for her, but those Filipino fans are incredible. I feel like an honorary family member. Love you guys. Inside the stadium, that energy hit different. It was louder. Every single point got the kind of roar you'd expect at a semi-final. The players felt it. You couldn't miss it. Even the practice courts were swamped because people were following Eala everywhere. It was like she was a rock star on tour, not just a tennis player with a match to play. Through all the noise, one big question kept popping up, though nobody really had the answer yet. Was this just a lucky streak of hype? Or are we seeing a total shift in how fans drive women's tennis? If Stuttgart proves anything, it's that expectations have blown past what anyone, officials or experts, ever thought was possible. That's the current tension. It's caught between the official bracket and the raw demand of the fans. Between the plan and the reality. Stuttgart wasn't supposed to be about a replacement player, but the whole story is revolving around her now. Just look at the 2026 Australian Open. Total madness this morning. Hundreds of Filipino fans swarmed the back of Melbourne Park just to see Alexandra Eala hit a few balls. She's ranked 49 in the world right now, and she has completely taken over the hearts of the local community. People in Melbourne are obsessed, especially after her historic run, where she made waves for the Philippines. She became the first player from her country to grab a Grand Slam win at the US Open back in 2025. Now everyone else is just scrambling to keep up. On paper, nothing changed. The schedule looked exactly the same as always, but the vibe inside the Porsche Arena, that was completely different. It felt like the world had flipped overnight. It was like entering a twilight zone where what we expected didn't match the thunder coming from the crowd. Every warm-up felt intense. The second Alex walked out for a simple rally, the fences were lined deep with fans. Security had to toss their old plans and figure out how to manage the early access. Inside the offices, things were tense. They stopped talking about start times and focused on crowd flow. One player was forcing logistics, usually saved for the championship round. Marketing people dream of this, but the folks on the ground, they're sweating. Anyway, now we're at the Miami Open. The hype is real for Alex Eala. She's world number 29 now, sitting with another bye in the first round. I'm so glad I got to chat with Matthew Futterman. He's a legend from the Athletic the Sports side of the New York Times. He had some incredible insights on how Alex is literally changing the face of the sport on a global level. But here's the thing. This isn't just a Stuttgart thing. It's happening everywhere. The whole tennis world is watching. Analysts who used to call Eala a nice story are now seeing something much deeper. It's not about potential anymore. It's impact. Her numbers don't look like a rising stars, they look like the elite veterans. That brings us back to what Martina Navratilova said. It wasn't just a compliment. It was a warning that the game was changing. Some players don't just join a tournament. They take it over. Not just because of their rank, but because of the sheer noise. Organizers are having to rethink everything they thought they knew. Right now, Stuttgart is just trying to survive the shift. The irony, Eala herself brings this crazy intensity. It lingers. You can feel the tension hanging in the air between points. It stops being about individual shots and becomes a surge of raw emotion. That's why Stuttgart feels so unpredictable. Usually these things are stable. Seeds usually win. Fans pick their favorites. Attention is spread out, but not here. Everything is pulling toward her. It's distorting the whole event. Alex, look, everyone knows your fan base is absolutely insane. I felt it firsthand last year in Miami. It was your breakout, and even though I was basically playing at home, I'm looking around like, where is my support? Not one person was cheering for me. Since then, we know you fill stadiums. You're the highest ranked Filipino ever. When did it finally hit you? When did you look around a packed arena and realize you were famous? Honestly, I didn't want to buy into it at first. But after seeing the crowds this past year, it changed everything. Every single time I play in those high-stakes tournaments, the Filipino fans show up in force. Every potential match involving Eala now carries a massive, undeniable weight. It's more than just a tough opponent. It's about the crushing weight of expectation. Facing a rising star isn't just a game anymore. Suddenly, these matchups don't feel like a standard bracket progression. They feel like massive cultural explosions happening right inside the tournament. And if she happens to fall short, the story doesn't just end. It morphs into this intense analysis about pressure and mental toughness. They start questioning the schedule and whether the tour's actually ready for this kind of fame. It's what happens when the crowd's raw energy literally outgrows the structure. In the middle of all that noise, Eala keeps walking into arenas that feel like home to the crowd but totally alien to the organizers. Stuttgart isn't just hosting matches anymore. It's about trying to control a wave of momentum that refuses to follow the usual tournament script. The longer this continues, the more obvious it becomes that what we're seeing isn't some fluke. It's a pattern that has simply reached its loudest, most intense stage yet.